If you ever plan on investing in real estate, then you definitely want to watch this video to the end, as I will be explaining 5 different terms that you should know before you get into your first property. Hello, mi gente, my name is Yuri Galva, and in this YouTube channel, I document my life in real estate, and I teach you guys all for free everything I'm learning and everything I'm doing on real estate. My ultimate goal is to share knowledge on real estate to the world, and if you can help me do that, please do so by liking, subscribing, leaving any comments, so the YouTube algorithm can share this content to other people as well. Here are the 5 words you should know before getting into your first investment property. Let's start with the first one, mortgage. Mortgage is basically an agreement between you and the bank that basically states that you, as the borrower, are going to pay them a certain amount of money every month in order to keep up your house. However, if you do not pay them that money, they can foreclose on you. So basically what that means is that they can basically take the house away from you if you do not pay that mortgage payment. And let's go into word number 2, which stands for PITI. This PITI is broken down into 4 different words. The P stands for principal, the I stands for interest, the T stands for taxes, and the last I stands for insurance. So these 4 components actually build up to your mortgage payment. That's what actually is your mortgage payment. So the P is the principal that you're paying down on the house. The I stands for the interest that you're paying the bank for letting you borrow that money to buy a house. The T are the property taxes that you're paying to the city where you bought the house. And the insurance is obviously you paying insurance, like any car insurance or any kind of insurance that you need in case of fire or any other bad thing that can happen to the property. I say this is extremely important for you to know, because how else would you know how to calculate how much your mortgage payment would be unless someone tells you? Knowing these different components would allow you to calculate and make these estimations yourself whenever you are looking for investment properties. Now, the third term I want you guys to know is called equity. Equity is basically the difference of what a property is worth and what you owe on the property. So let's put it into a perspective. So imagine you buy a house for $100,000. And I'm using these numbers because they're just easy to come up with on the spot than having to come up with like random numbers that I'm gonna have to pull out paper and stuff to calculate it. So imagine you buy a house for $100,000, and 5 years down the line, you pay down the loan to $80,000. So you only owe $80,000, right? However, after the 5 years, the property appreciated $30,000. So you bought it for $100,000, but now your property is worth $130,000. This is 5 years later. So the difference between what the property is worth, which is $130,000, and what you owe, which is $80,000, is what we call equity. So 130 minus 80, I believe that's 50 grand. So 50 grand is what we call equity. So if you ever decide to sell the house, refinance the house, you can pull out most of that money out. This is how the rich actually build wealth. A lot of people have this misconception that you make a ton of money from real estate. And in some cases it is completely true, but most of the money is usually made through the equity. Real estate is not the type of investment that you get rich fast. It's the type of investment that you get rich for sure, but it takes time. It takes time, it takes hustle, and it takes commitment and consistency, right? A lot of people nowadays want to turn $1,000 into 100 grand in like a year or so, which is very, very hard. Very few people can actually do that can actually turn that kind of money into 100 grand. Real estate doesn't take a lot of knowledge. It just takes some discipline, some consistency, and some massive action. With some massive action in real estate, you can definitely build a ton of equity, build a ton of cash flow, and live comfortably. And at least that's what I thrive for, being wealthy. And real estate is the kind of investment that you can pass down generations through generations, right? Like houses are not, like they're always gonna be there, right? People are always gonna need houses. People are always gonna need places to rent, right? So I hope that makes sense in terms of the equity. Now moving on to term number 4, PMI. PMI stands for private mortgage insurance. I actually have a video where I talk about the differences between an FHA loan and a conventional loan. You can click the link here to watch that video more in depth. But basically PMI, what that stands for, is just a different kind of insurance that's added on top of your mortgage payment because of the low down payment that you use. Anytime you buy a property with less than 20% down payment, you have to pay something called PMI. And this PMI is basically protecting the lender in case you do not make your mortgage payment. Imagine, like, remember, you only putting down like 3.5% down or 5% or 10%, whatever it is. And to the lender, they find it very risky, right? Because you're only in it for like 3.5% and they're in it for 97.5%. So to them, that's their way of basically watching out for themselves, right? Make sure that if you do ever default of a payment and you don't want to make any payments anymore, or you can't make any payments anymore, that insurance is basically going to cover them for that. So there's that. And if you want to know more about that, more in depth, and how those apply to different loans like FHA and conventional, like I said, do not forget to watch that video. And I go way more in depth into PMI there. Now, last but not least, guys, the last term I want to talk to you guys about is the down payment. So in order to buy a house, you do need to put down a down payment. But I do want to emphasize and reiterate again how little you actually need to buy your first investment property. Remember, you can use an FHA loan with only 3.5% down. So here's two different strategies you can use to put down as little as possible. One of them is that a lot of states, majority of the states, actually have something called down payment assistance programs. And you can use these down payment assistance programs and actually in order to help you with your down payment. A lot of them cover 100% of your down payment, and some of them cover a high percentage of your down payment. Second, if you do not have enough money for your down payment, you can also speak to your parents or someone close to you where they can gift you that money on paper, and that should actually work as well. And for that specifically, I will speak to your lender to see how you can go about doing that, because I believe there has to be certain letters written in between that and so on and so forth. I've actually never done it myself, but I've seen cases where a parent does give the child or the brother or whoever money for a down payment, and the lender completely accepts it. But like I said, I would just speak to your lender. They would know more on how to educate you on that specific topic. But the point is that now you have that on your mind and you have an idea on different strategies on how you can use in order to buy your first investment property. Anyways, guys, I really wanted to do this video because I actually want people to get educated on real estate before they actually buy the first investment property. And I thought that these 5 terms were some of the most important terms to actually know before purchasing a property. I'm actually gonna do a part 2 of this video where I actually go into other terms that I believe you should know. So stay tuned to that. But if you like this video, do not forget to like and subscribe. Remember that by you liking and subscribing, it allows the YouTube algorithm to share this video to other people. So the more likes and the more comments that we get, the more other people can also hear about these terms and learn more about real estate.